strong competition, as you can see it right now in our winter conditioning. They're all there to impress and to try to make a name for themselves. And I've told them all that this thing's wide open. I'm going to try to give them, all of them, the same reps with the ones, and we're going to find out who's the most productive. Because I think when the bullets fly and when you get into team-type situations and you're with the ones, then that's how you find out who can do it. So I'll try to make sure that gets done by the time 15 practices, at the end of 15 practices, that I've got a pretty good idea of who can do it and who can't.
Coach, I want to ask you the same question. In special teams, you can come in as a special teams coordinator. Again, what's your philosophy in coaching special teams?
We're going to be very disciplined. I think penalties and things like that will kill you on special teams, and we're going to preach no penalties. Don't turn the football over, and we've got to change the field position. Our field goal kicker's got to be at 80%, I think, for us to win a championship or better. I think he's got that ability. I think he can be special. We've got to have great hang time by our punter. We've got to be able to average a 30-yard net or better for us to be in the top 10 in the country in net punting. And then our coverage team has got to be relentless. You got to be disciplined, and you got to be great tacklers. And Jimbo is a big proponent of special teams. I think it starts at the top. He's made it perfectly clear to everybody on this football team that nobody is exempt, and that really excites me. You got to get the blend of your ones, but you got to put in those twos, and I think there's some other people there too that might be a walk-on situation or somebody that gives great effort, that can tackle and do those things. I've always had 1 to 3 guys that traveled, that's what their role was. So I think there's going to be a lot of competition, and I think we'll have a lot of guys that will be a part of it.
Pretty excited having Greg Reed, the guy who led the nation last year in returns.
Yes. When we've been successful, whenever I've coached special teams at punt return and kickoff return, those guys up front and those guys block well and they do a good job technique-wise, but don't let anybody kid you. It's all about the returner. If you got a great returner, you got a chance to have great return teams because you don't have to block everybody. And I know that sounds crazy, but you don't, because sometimes you might miss a guy and that guy makes a guy miss, and then that's when you get the big plays. And that's what I see out of Greg. And I think we got some guys on kickoff return that can help us too. A.J. Alexander and Avis Comack, and some straight line guys that are fast. I like straight line guys on kickoff return instead of running back, because they see color and they jump around too much. I like straight line guys at kickoff return. So we'll see what we have there at the end of spring.
How important is it to have a head coach who preaches the value of special teams and doesn't just give it lip service when actually they say it out loud, but when it comes to practices, isn't really that important?
It's huge. It was huge for me. I know just his background, where he's come from. When we played LSU, I hated playing LSU when I was at Auburn, because you had Michael Clayton, their starting receiver. They had their starting running backs. All their running backs was on kickoff coverage, and it was hard as a front line guy to try to block those guys, because they've got an advantage. Obviously, they're running, faster usually, and you're turning and running and trying to flip your hips. And their kickoff coverage teams were phenomenal, and it changes the field position is so important. When you have a chance when you have to go 80 yards and score, or you get the ball to the 35, 37-yard line, the percentages go up. And in this game right now, in these days, the way defenses are, the field position is crucial. So it's exciting to know that he's like that, and it's going to be a huge deal.
How did you get into special teams? How did that become something you kind of gravitate to?
The special teams coordinator at Auburn, about I can't remember, I guess our second or third year at Auburn. I always helped with special teams. I liked it, and the special teams coordinators, they always pick and they get guys. And he got the head job at Murray State University, Joe Panunzio, and Tommy Tuberville walked in and said, "You're now a special teams coordinator." I said, "Great, thanks." It's one of those deals. I didn't have a choice. But my background comes from Jim Harbaugh at the Ravens. He and I coached together at Cincinnati when I was there for 2 years. And so when I got the job at Auburn, I went to the Philadelphia Eagles where he was, and I spent a lot of time there with him. And really that's where everything I've gotten from him, and Joe DeCamillis, who was at the Atlanta Falcons, who is now with the Dallas Cowboys. Kind of everything that I've evolved to has been from those two guys.
Coach Jim Lamar, the Dallas Democrat. What were your impressions of this program from the outside before you got here? What did you know about Florida State?
You know, what do I know about Florida State? I knew that it's top 5 schools in the country. You know Bobby Bowden and the legacy that he left here and the tradition. I know recruiting against him. I always hated being on a kid for 2 years, and then all of a sudden, the last 2 weeks of recruiting, Florida State was nowhere to be heard, and he'd come in and game, set, match. Anybody from Florida State would show up, and you'd lose a kid. That was frustrating because of tradition and because of what they stood for. Over the last couple of years, I've struggled a little bit. 7 and 6, I guess, and you just knew there was a struggle. Why, I didn't know, and I really didn't think about it. But I know what they've been recruiting the last couple of years in the classes. I don't think they're far off. I don't think we're far off. It's just a matter of getting the right attitude and going from here. 15 years in a row, or 14 being top 14, top 4 in the country is phenomenal. There's obviously a reason, and you can tell, being the facilities, everything that you have here to recruit to, it's amazing. And so there's no doubt in my mind it can be done again, and it will be done again.
Coach Jonathan Schlesy from Florida State Headlines. You have a lot to think about, quite a transition here, but have you given it any thought about the Sidney Gran Foundation, what you're going to do here with it? Any thoughts on that? It helps Alabama Children's Hospitals